Good morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ and welcome back to another detailed forecast update, this one for November 13th, 2024. Today we're going to be talking about some dangerous severe thunderstorms expected to fire up over the coming couple of days across Queensland, southeast and into the northeast of New South Wales. Some heavy rainfall over those areas as well as expected. We'll talk about the heatwave extending across central parts of Australia, and I'll also give a detailed tropical weather update as well. All of that plus more coming up in today's weather forecast. If you're brand new to the channel, please consider subscribing. The support lately has been much appreciated, but let's get stuck straight into things this morning, with potential for severe thunderstorms across much of southeastern Queensland starting from tonight. Now, we've had some good outbreaks over the last couple of days, but today is expected to be the biggest one out of the last couple of days, and it is reciprocated between what the forecast models are suggesting. Last night, some good rainfall fell around the Mount Tamborine and then into the Gold Coast Seaway area. It rained for about 3 hours down here on the Gold Coast, which was fantastic. However, more rainfall is expected tonight, which could just add to the flooding problem that some of the rivers around the Warwick and then across the New South Wales-Queensland border, just in this little pocket here, is currently experiencing. So thunderstorms are expected to fire up along a line between Injune down towards about Toowoomba and Warwick from about 2 p.m. this afternoon, extending into northeastern parts of New South Wales outside of Grafton and Coffs Harbour at around the same time as well, and these thunderstorms are expected to be severe right out of the gate into the northeast of New South Wales. Severe thunderstorms with damaging winds and isolated pockets of heavy rainfall are expected between a line of Injune across to about Kingaroy, developing between 2 and 4 p.m. as just mentioned, and it looks like Brisbane and the Gold Coast will have to wait for their severe thunderstorms. Showers and storms possible in the Brisbane metro area from this afternoon into this evening, in line with what the Bureau of Meteorology is currently forecasting. But the area that I want you guys to watch is this area down here, developing along the Queensland-New South Wales border between Wollongara, Stanthorpe and across to Lismore. This is what will be a second outbreak later on tonight, and I'll get to that in just a few moments. Further north though, outside of Taroom, Injune and up towards Rolleston, Billawilla, Idlesvoid, there are going to be some very good thunderstorms later on this afternoon and into the early evening hours, with large hailstones, heavy rainfall and damaging winds. Classic Queensland severe thunderstorms for this time of the year, and they will head closer to the coastline as well compared to what we have been seeing over the last couple of days. Later on tonight, these storms will upscale into a squall line, a high precipitation squall line at that, which will be a line of some moderate to heavy rainfall, some small hailstones also possible, a lot of lightning and some possible damaging winds as well, extending between Emerald across to Dingo, Rockhampton, then down the coast around Gladstone, Agnes Water, Bundaberg, and as far south as Harvey Bay. Still some thunderstorms expected out towards Taroom and Edgevoort as well later on into the night, and these thunderstorms here are expected to finally bring some much needed rainfall to select locations along the Capricorn coast between Bundaberg and up towards about Rockhampton and Ogmore. So again, this is a great forecast here. Unfortunately, I'd love to be the person that says rainfall is expected pretty much everywhere along the central Queensland coastline, because it is expected pretty much everywhere inland in central Queensland from later on this afternoon from these thunderstorms. However, unfortunately, it is going to be very hit and miss the further north you get. Rockhampton, Agnes Water, Gladstone and Bundaberg will all receive at least 5 to 10 millimetres and maybe a little bit more from a good thunderstorm if it does blow through, and I'm giving that a high probability of happening. But further north of Rockhampton, especially up towards Ogmore and even Rockhampton itself, it's still going to be pretty hit and miss as to whether or not they receive some good rainfall tonight, unfortunately. And then as you get further north up towards Moranbah, Mackay and Glendon, you can pretty much write off the chances of getting any rainfall from these thunderstorms, unfortunately. One location that is not going to be writing off any rainfall is going to be in the southeast of Queensland, down towards Brisbane and the Gold Coast, expecting some very good falls later on tonight. Now, the thunderstorms tonight are going to be interesting. This afternoon, we're probably going to have just too much cloud cover across the southeast of Queensland to prevent enough convection to really blow up. And in a similar fashion to what happened yesterday, yes, there were some good thunderstorms out towards Boonah and Warwick and Stanthorpe again, but the convection and the cloud cover during the day just prevented that ground heating until much later on in the afternoon and evening when those thunderstorms came through the Gold Coast area later on in the night. And I think that's exactly what's going to end up happening tonight. There's just not going to be enough kind of lift and instability in the atmosphere for thunderstorms to fire up in the evening around Brisbane. Not thunderstorms that are going to cause us any concern at least, but some showers and the isolated rumble still very much possible. It's going to be later on tonight at around 10 or 11 o'clock when some more thunderstorms swing up from the northeast of New South Wales between a line of Inglewood through Stanthorpe, Warrenbah, and then across towards Lismore and then further north up towards the New South Wales and Queensland border. These thunderstorms join up in a line of heavy rainfall, some isolated pockets of large hailstones also possible, damaging winds in the leeway way of this weather system and then impacting the Gold Coast Seaway and then further north up towards Brisbane by around 1 or 2 a.m. tomorrow morning, and the thunderstorms into the northern suburbs of Brisbane and then further out towards Toowoomba and Crow's Nest will likely pack a punch late tonight into very early tomorrow morning. This is a pretty different forecast as well to what the Bureau of Meteorology is suggesting. The Bureau of Meteorology given that high chance of thunderstorms from this morning. Again, I just don't see it happening just with, and take a look at the satellite picture here, we have an awful lot of clouds streaming in from the east, and that's just from the west rather, and that's just going to prevent the thunderstorms from really blowing up. I mean, this kind of low to high level cloud here, the wispy stuff, is just going to prevent those showers and storms from really maturing into powerful storms. But you can already see here through this line that we do have some good convection already starting to fire up between a line of St. George across the New South Wales Queensland border along the coastline there outside of Coolangatta. Those thunderstorms will likely mature pretty quickly when they do begin to fire up. Again, it's a pretty complicated forecast here, but mark my words, these thunderstorms are going to have a field day. There is a lot of instability in the environment. Convective available potential energy values through the roof, much higher than normal across the southeast of Queensland. A fantastic setup here for thunderstorms. It's looking really healthy indeed. Good wind speed and wind direction as well. You can see winds coming out of the Pacific Ocean and the Coral Sea here, bringing in that warm moist air, the warm dry air coming in from the north west as well over Rolleston. It's going to be another warm day out into central parts of Queensland. Temperatures expected to rise into the mid-30s with very high humidity values as well expected. So it's going to be another sticky day across the southeast of Queensland, and it will feel like thunderstorms, that's for sure. It's going to look like thunderstorms as well later on tonight. So get excited for some possible powerful thunderstorms. The chances are certainly there for the Brisbane area, and same deal with the Gold Coast. Central Queensland as well looking likely to get some thunderstorms. I feel like we really neglected these areas out here in this forecast out towards Injune and Roma, but some good storms expected out there. But the further inland you get out towards Charleville, Tambo and Jericho, the thunderstorms do become a little bit more hit and miss. And the further south as well, you get the thunderstorms will also become a little bit more hit and miss. We're expecting a couple of days of dry weather after this thunderstorm outbreak, so we're going to touch on the severe thunderstorm threat on Friday and Saturday in tomorrow's forecast update. However, I would just like to round out the thunderstorm discussion of this video before we talk about rainfall with a quick look at what New South Wales and Victoria is also expecting, because this thunderstorm outbreak tonight is going to be widespread. It's not isolated to the southeast of Queensland. You can see from a low pressure system being dragged across Tasmania and then into the Bass Strait. It's bringing showers and thunderstorms along a line right through eastern parts of Australia, and they're going to fire up along a line through much of New South Wales and then into Victoria from later on this afternoon and evening from about 3 p.m. local time. The thunderstorms will also make it far enough inland to give some much needed rainfall to a few locations, or at least a chance of some much needed rainfall to a few locations around the Dubbo area, and then down towards Griffith and Wagga Wagga. The rainfall will be very hit and miss out there. However, some locations likely to get a hit, which is fantastic news indeed. Showers and storms and the potential for severe thunderstorms as well outside of the Barrington Tops around Newcastle, out towards Muswellbrook, outside of Sydney as well into the western suburbs. A chance of severe thunderstorms is going to be there, but it isn't necessarily high. And then just widespread pulse thunderstorms expected across much of New South Wales and then into the eastern half of Victoria as well, with some good rainfall also possible, which again is just fantastic news indeed. For the most part, this rainfall is much needed across much of Victoria into New South Wales and then into Queensland. You can see just tonight over the next 24 hours. I know we shouldn't be looking at the rainfall models forecast, just considering the fact that thunderstorms are notoriously difficult to predict rainfall off a forecast model, but in terms of rainfall it does look pretty widespread across New South Wales, and this gives us a good idea that some good rainfall is certainly on the cards. And again, convective available potential energy for these thunderstorms from tonight across New South Wales and then into Victoria, suggesting a lot of instability, so the chance of severe thunderstorms is certainly going to be there for those locations outside of the Barrington Tops and Newcastle, and then further north up in the northeastern part of New South Wales as well. Looks like thunderstorms are going to be very likely up there, and then turning into severe thunderstorms later or early on this afternoon, then later on this evening once again. So a very interesting severe thunderstorm outbreak, a widespread one as well. There's a lot to get through throughout the remainder of this week as well, so just a heads up, more thunderstorms expected into the southeast and the central parts of Queensland on Friday. Showers and storms also are expected into central parts of Queensland on Saturday before a powerful severe thunderstorm outbreak takes hold on Sunday across central parts of Queensland, and that one will have a punch. Certainly something that I want to talk talk about in a future forecast update. Monday, some showers also possible. Tuesday, a little bit of calmer weather, but still some rainfall expected along central Queensland. This is all stuff that I want to talk about in great detail in a future forecast update. But now let's talk about rainfall for the northeast of Queensland into the far north sections of Queensland. This is definitely something I want to be talking about because from Tuesday onwards, we do have that onshore flow just beginning to signal that we could be seeing some rainfall up into Queensland's far north. This is quite exciting stuff indeed, and it's reciprocated between the forecast models, and you can already see and understand that I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, but you can already see that there is some good rainfall towards the end of next week for locations around far north Queensland. I mean, take a look at this outside of Cardwell and Ingham onto the Castlereagh Coast, rainfall accumulations between 50 and 80 millimetres, and then down on the Whitsundays as well, Hamilton Island accumulations up to 100 millimetres, outside of Proserpine looking at up to 150 millimetres. So some rainfall really is now beginning to pipe up on the forecast models, and I was suggesting it into the late parts of November. It looks like it's just came a week early here on this forecast. It is reciprocated between the other forecast models as well, so this does give me great confidence in saying that this rainfall is going to come. Certainly something we're going to need to watch out for and developments for in future forecast updates. But let's break down what is expected right now. So showers and storms, like I said, expected along the central Queensland coastline around Mackay and Yalburu for Monday and also Tuesday. The showers not piping down on Wednesday, but we're going to see an onshore flow begin to pipe up from Wednesday morning, which is going to jam itself up on the Queensland coastline, bringing showers and thunderstorms and convective weather to much of the far north Queensland coastline outside of Cairns and then extending down towards Townsville. The showers and storms continuing through Wednesday night into early Thursday morning as a rainfall event sets itself up along the Queensland coastline, powered by a weak low pressure surface trough that's going to be extending along the Queensland coastline, or up the Queensland coastline at least. This surface trough here is going to bring those showers and storms and really refuse them from moving, but it's more so going to be the onshore flow just driving these southeasterly to easterly winds along the Queensland coastline, bringing the rainfall. You know the stuff that I'm talking about, but this is certainly going to be the first rumble of some proper rainfall for the far north parts of Queensland. And boy, oh boy, do they desperately need it right now. You can see on the drought monitoring map that mild to moderate and even rumbles of severe drought-like conditions starting to occur across parts of the far north Queensland coastline. Out in the Atherton tablelands, they are on water restrictions as they have been for the last about 60 days. The only place that is still currently above average in terms of soil moist values is the Daintree, but it's still looking pretty dicey there, and they do need some good proper rainfall as well just to kind of quench their drought. But yeah, it's looking really dry across parts of far northern Queensland, so this rainfall is going to be very welcome indeed, which is fantastic news indeed. And you can see later on the forecast period, it's pretty much all but gone up there. So this 50 to 100 millimetres is going to be very welcome. Again, that's not too much rainfall for Queensland's far north, certainly nothing to kind of constitute the start of the big wet up there, but it is still much needed rainfall, which is again fantastic to see, and I imagine a lot of people are going to get very excited up there for far north Queensland, and I'm very happy to be able to report on the fact that we are seeing that kind of tropical weather now begin to pipe up. We were starting to get a little bit worried that it was going to be a very late start to the tropical weather scene, but it now looks like it's going to arrive right on time into the later parts of November. Still nothing, however, in terms of the rumbles of cyclone activity unless you head over west, and this is another exciting aspect of the forecast. Is later on next week we are going to be looking out for the potential of a cyclone outside of the Cocos-Keeling Islands. Again, this is well out of Australia's area of responsibility. The longitude for this is about 87 degrees east. The Australian area of responsibility stops around here at 90 degrees east. So again, if this cyclone doesn't form towards the east of this line here, which is unlikely to do so as per this forecast, it will not pick up an Australian name. And I do actually need to revise myself on the Australian cyclone season names, but at this time here it's unlikely to become Australia's first tropical cyclone. But again, it is this time of the year where we're now going to be talking about tropical cyclone activity. Certainly something worth talking about, certainly something worth mentioning, and it could go on to become a strong tropical cyclone into the southwest Indian Ocean, which we will also take a look at. Now, just before I finish up in talks of rainfall and tropical weather, I would just like to talk about a thunderstorm outbreak expected to take hold across parts of WA for the remainder of this week. Showers and storms expected over the interior parts of the state as a west coast trough and low pressure system builds, and west coast trough means hot weather for locations into the Gascoyne and the Wheatbelt. And you can see temperatures going up into the high 30s, early 40s for some locations, and then into the high 40s for some some locations across parts of the Pilbara district today and tomorrow, and then into Friday as well. Warm temperatures and will promote the chance of thunderstorms through Thursday, Friday and Saturday, and also down in towards Perth. We're expecting showers and storms late Saturday night and right throughout Sunday. We could be seeing a line of thunderstorms move through the Perth metro area on Sunday afternoon, most likely non-severe but powered by a low pressure system that will set itself up on offshore. We will see a couple of days of very humid, sticky weather. It's going to feel quite tropical down in Perth and the southwest as a whole, and as such those thunderstorms will have a field day developing throughout Sunday, Monday and then Tuesday. And Tuesday looking like a pretty mean outbreak across parts of the southwest as well. Certainly something worth keeping an eye on. In fact, it looks like a week-long wet weather run for parts of the Gascoyne and then into the Goldfields, and maybe even the Wheatbelt might receive some good rainfall as well. But just take a look at this with 10-day rainfall accumulations quite high across parts of WA, and this is a very valid forecast as well. I would not be surprised if 10-day rainfall accumulations exceeded 100 millimetres for some locations into the central Wheatbelt, and then out further north up in the Gascoyne and parts of the Pilbara region, even into the Murchison. We could be seeing some very good rainfall over the next 10 days as well, most likely to fall after Monday the 18th of November, but some good rainfall as a whole expected across much of WA. Very welcome indeed. I know a lot of farmers really kind of needing a little bit of rainfall to tide themselves over through the summer. We didn't get summer rainfall last year, so summer rainfall will be very welcome this year, but some good rainfall is expected on the forecast models, which is great to see. We typically see something like this later on in the year or very early on next year. However, this thunderstorm event kind of came a couple of months early, which could be a sign for things to come this summer. I really hope it is. A couple of thunderstorms in WA would be very exciting, but again, we won't get our hopes up too high. This is still pretty stock standard weather for this time of the year, but it could cause some flooding problems into the Murchison and parts of the Gascoyne and even the southern parts of the Pilbara. So again, definitely worth keeping an eye on this forecast here. High and dry across central parts of Australia, and that's going to keep things very warm as well, with temperatures expected up into the early to mid 40s for much of South Australia, the Northern Territory and Queensland. And we've still got those heatwave conditions extending across central parts of Queensland, promoting those thunderstorms pretty much every afternoon across central parts of the state, and then into the southeastern corner of the state as well, keeping things nice and warm down there. Pretty steamy across southeastern parts of Queensland, and these thunderstorms are going to be loving it, that's for sure. Today should be the last really hot day across central parts of Queensland. Things will begin to cool off across central Queensland. It will still remain pretty warm up in the north from tomorrow, but again, things will start to cool off into central parts of the state, and even Friday as well, expected to be a pretty cold day, dominated by onshore winds, which will keep things pretty cool across the southeast and penetrating even into central parts of the state as well. Things should remain a little bit cooler than what they have been over the last couple of days. This forecast update has gone for long enough. If you have enjoyed it, then please do leave a like on the video. The support lately has been much appreciated. I'm over in Queensland right now, and I will be here for the coming week, which shouldn't impede on forecast updates, but again, we will try and get out them pretty much every single day. You'll probably notice that they're coming out about 2 or 3 hours earlier, which I'm really happy about as well. But if you've got any feedback or you'd like to see something covered in the next forecast update, then please do let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll get back to as many people as I can throughout the course of today. But thank you so much for watching the video to this point. Subscribe if you haven't already, and a special shout out to the channel sponsors. Their names on screen right now, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.